Oh, mate. Well, welcome back to the show. I've been starting these now with like, what's your why for competing in HYROX? Like, what motivates you to do it, and all the other things that you do. What's the motivator for you?
So first of all, thank you, Greg, for obviously having me on. Um, my why, probably a number of reasons. I want to test my kind of personal limits within HYROX, and I want to push them and see how far I can get. But I also want to inspire as many people as possible along the way, and I want to get as many people into fitness. It doesn't have to be HYROX, but into fitness as possible, just because I think it's so amazing and it improves your life. When you do start your fitness journey.
Hmm. Hmm. You've done an awful lot since we last spoke, and I think when we spoke, you were like trying to get into the elite 15. You were like looking that up, and I know you've done like some amazing things like the 11 HYROX in the weekend and stuff like that, but like elite 15 was your goal, which you've now reached. um it started, really, it seemed, with the visit to Cape Town, where you did a 56:53, which is an incredibly impressive time. um how how was that race? Can you remember that experience going to Cape Town? I know you're doing a lot of stuff over there.
No, no, of course. So it actually started at the probably this time, well, just after this time last year at HYROX World Championships, where I was looking at the Elite 15 and I was looking at all these people, watching. I think there was thousands and thousands of people watching the Elite 15, um, on that Friday night, and it was just insane, and it was just like I want to be there, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a motivator of why I wanted to kind of aim for the Elite 15, but. Uh, there was it was actually Dylan Scott that actually came up to me after we'd done the doubles and everything like that. And I was chatting to him and I said, he asked me about our goals and stuff like that. And he said, I want to get into the Elite 15. And he said, well, you're going to have to improve your running. You need to be running 3:30s for an hour constantly. Um, that's what the elites are doing as well as, lifting heavy, pushing sleds and stuff like that. So I was like, right, well, I'm nowhere near that at the moment, and I need to get there. So I kind of set a full training block, just running specific. Had a goal in mind, which was a marathon, and to try and do the fastest time that I could, and try and maintain this 3:30 pace. So I did like all my marathon block over kind of like the off season, as you call it, over summer, and then I think it was the week before or 2 weeks before the marathon there was an opportunity that came up to go to Cape Town to do the HYROX. There's a couple of activations tied in with it, and I thought, oh, I've never been to Cape Town. I'd love to go. I can't really turn it down, and it's a great test on how the marathon running is it either paid off or is it been detrimental to HYROX training. So I went over there with kind of like an open mind, competed, managed to get a great time, which then got me into the first Elite 15 major, which was actually only a couple of weeks after. I think it was 3 weeks after from that point, which was in Amsterdam. So I had the decision to make, like, do I, now that I've done that HYROX, do I continue to do the marathon and try and get a good marathon time, or do I then rest and then try and do like the HYROX major? And at the time, I was just like, both. I've said that I'm going to do this marathon. I need to do this marathon. So I ended up doing the marathon and then the Elite 15 major.
Okay. Was the marathon really the aim was to get better at running for HYROX? That was almost the motivator for doing that, was it?
Yeah, that was a motivator. Like, after that conversation with Dylan, it was like you need to run 3:30s. I was like, well, if he's saying we need to run it for an hour, let's try and run it for 2.5 hours and see how it goes. And I only just managed it, but yeah.
Do you think, like, obviously it's worked out for you? Do you think, like, if someone's listening and needs to get better at running, like, is half marathon, would training for a half marathon be a better goal, do you think, or do you think the
Oh,
marathon is the one?
yeah. No, 100%. I think training for anywhere between a fast 10K and a fast half marathon is perfect for HYROX. I'd probably say, half marathon might maybe too taxing, like on the body when you get into them further distances. I think, running fast 10Ks is the way to go. Being able to run, 30 to 50 minutes, super, super high intensity is going to help carry over to HYROX.
Yeah. So this was the Berlin Marathon, and like you'd come out before and said like you wanted to go sub 2:30, which is an incredible time, but especially for someone your size and build and everything like that. And I think you got a little bit of hate, right, from some legit runners for coming out and saying that, like saying it weren't going to be possible. Like, did that fuel you to do it even more?
Yeah, yeah, it actually did. So yeah, I got a little bit of hate, mostly on like YouTube. I think it's because everyone's like anonymous on there, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just made me open my eyes that like how like amazing the HYROX community is, because no matter what you say in the HYROX community, whatever goals you have, like people are supporting you. And
Mhm.
but yeah, then people saying, you know, you're never going to do this, or you know, you're 3 to 4 years off this. Um, that just you know, was the fuel to the fire that just pushed me. I was like, well, I've said it now. I've got to back it up, rather than thinking, oh no, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I mean, there are some people that would experience that and then like let that almost deter them, if you like, or put them off, or go back in their shell, you know. But for you, it clearly didn't. And what was your time eventually? Was it 2:28?
Yeah, 2:28:15, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, it felt really good the first half, but felt even better the second half. I ended up doing a negative split, but like I say, it was the perfect conditions. It was the fastest course in the world, which is Berlin. Yeah, it was insane. I was there with my friends. Like there was everything was perfect, and everything couldn't be better.
What do you think led to the negative splits? I've heard you talk about this before. Like you got halfway, and then like the second half was faster. Like had was there like a mental shift at that point or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's just like, yeah, it's now or never. Like you can, you know, you can get to halfway, but you know, if you start to back off now, if you start to struggle, like all your hard work won't pay off. Like you know, you've not worked hard to only do half of it. Like you've got to push on, and that's what I try telling myself. Obviously, you go to some dark places, like anyone does within any sports. But HYROX is definitely one where you know, you've got to kind of, you know, think of the toughest things in your life to push you through, if that makes sense. But yeah, yeah, felt good. And yeah, it was more like relief when I finished. When I came over the line, I was like relieved, rather than, obviously I was over the moon, but yeah, relieved that it paid off.
What what do you feel like made the biggest difference to your running splits, like to get you to that kind of paces in a relatively short period of time as well? Was there anything major that happened in your training or your diet or your whatever lifestyle that helped, you think?
Yeah, so I think that one of the quickest ways to get faster is improving your power to weight ratio. So for people that don't know, like, for that you could either drop weight and you know, reduce your weight, and then that ratio is better, or you can improve your power slash fitness. So and fitness is a lot harder to build than dropping weight, because I had a little bit that I could lose as well. So I think I dropped about 5 kg. So that helped. But then I started being very specific with my running sessions. I think this kind of opened my eyes to threshold training for the first time properly. But I think before that, I'd, you know, run super hard, probably, you know, over that threshold limit. And for marathon training, you there's no point doing that. You need to get used to running at marathon race pace, or just slightly faster. So and that works out around your threshold. So every session that I was doing when I was running was a little bit reserved, rather than, you know, fully sending it, doing 800-meter all out efforts on the track.
Yeah. You mentioned the weight there. Um, how do you think about, like, I think that's fairly clear. Like for running, yeah, losing weight often does help as long as you're fueled and you can fuel the training and everything like that. How do you think about that in the context of HYROX? Are you aiming to be at a similar weight that you are for that Berlin Marathon, or do you think it's worth going heavier? How do you think about that?
So right now, I'd probably say I'm as fit as I was for that Berlin Marathon, but a little bit heavier. And I think that'll probably pay off with HYROX, especially with doing the elite category or pro category. Like the weights are heavy. You need to be able to push them, but then again, there are people in the field that are a lot lighter. Like, there's some people that, just touching 80 kilograms. At the moment, I think I'm about 87, 88 kg. So, yeah, it's not kind of like one shoe fits all, or one size fits all. It's different for different people, and I think you try and test it. What's your kind of optimal weight? What do you feel like you run best within a HYROX?
I'm around I'm around 83 kilograms, and I feel like I'm like naturally like happy there. Like that's what I try and maintain and keep an eye on as well. I think going any heavier wouldn't benefit me on like the sleds and things like that. But then going lighter, like I don't feel like as comfortable at that point. And maybe it would help my running, but I think overall, like I think around 83 is around right. And I do a survey actually, like of the Elite 15 and everything like that. And I'm not sure where it's coming out this year, but that's sort of around the level, like the average of the Elite 15. But obviously, everyone's different heights and has different strengths and weaknesses, everything like that. But around that sort of 80, 80 to 90 kilograms feels like it's around like the sort of average for the Elite 15.
Super interesting that, and yeah.
Yeah. So how was so like that was like Berlin Marathon, no, sorry, Cape Town, Berlin Marathon the following week, and then I think it was Amsterdam 2 weeks later, was it?
Yes.
Which is a crazy, like intense period. But how was that first Elite 15 experience for you?
Oh, it was one of the best things I've ever experienced. Like, I'll always remember that race. Although I didn't do very well, like just the whole experience of the day before, going to the media day, the day of having, where you're going to the room with all the 29 athletes, and you're having the rules read out to you, and you just treat it a little bit differently, and then you actually do the race, and you've got a full course to yourself. Like, it's what dreams are made of for anyone that aspires to be at the top level of HYROX.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of making those elite athletes feel special for that whole experience. It's not just the race; it's the briefing and everything like that. It's an experience, yeah.
And the personalized kits and everything, like it's just it's just super cool. And the actual race itself, yeah, it was great, but it was just great to be around the best in the world.
Yeah. Was the rate? Do you feel like you were impacted by like Cape Town, the marathon in the race? Like, because you still did pretty well. It was still a good time, just not the position that you ultimately wanted. But do you feel like that those things did impact you?
Yeah, I suffered after the Berlin Marathon. I think 4 days later, I suffered a little bit of a back injury, like a flare up. I was actually training in Lanzarote at the time, and it was that bad that I was struggling to walk, and I was going to actually pull out of Amsterdam. But I got back home to the UK, went and saw a physio, and he kind of fixed me up as best he could. And he said, you should be okay. So I went and raced. I ended up having physio on the actual day of the race as well. So, getting up in the morning wasn't feeling too good. So I had to go and see a physio in Amsterdam. So I did that. But I think the race itself, I think I just got sucked into the crowd. I got sucked into kind of like everyone else's race. I didn't run my own race, and I just set off too fast. I think I was seeing stars on the ski erg, and that's not a good time, is it?
That's an early time to see stars. You mentioned that back injury. Like, we talked about that last time you were on. How I think it was at London Olympia, was it? Like, you ended up in a wheelchair like over a year ago now. But is that essentially a reoccurrence of that? Is it still a weakness for you, the back?
Yeah, it's still weak. It is still the weakness. I think it's always a weakness, but I've kind of turned it around as a little bit of a blessing, because now every time I'm slightly overtrained, every time I'm waking up fatigued or anything, my back hurts. So it's kind of a bit of a warning sign that I shouldn't push it. I shouldn't I shouldn't overtrain. I shouldn't just go and do the session anyway. And it's another sign for me to think about what I'm actually doing.
Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. I like that. I like that. So then, so that was your Elite 15 like debut in Amsterdam, but then ultimately you qualified in Glasgow for the Elite 15 in Chicago. How was that race? How was that experience? Did you feel different going into that? Feel confident that you could get the qualifying spot?
Yeah, I was quite nervous because it was the last major. So going into that, I knew like if I didn't get it that time, then I'm going to be in a tough time at the last track qualifier. That's just like a free for all that.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is good. My last proper time where I need to put it in. But I think the difference that I like that made me qualify was I just kept to my own race. And I think this was a bit based off watching Graham Halliday in Hong Kong and watching him, be so casual. So I think he came out of the sleds like 13th, something like that. I think it was very, and then for him to come up and qualify, I just thought, it is possible to do that. You don't have to be with the front runners all the time to then bring it back at the end. And I've always struggled with the first half of the race anyway. Or I don't know if I struggle with it or if everyone else just sets off way too fast because I'm still running. I'm still running 3:30s. I'm still doing the stations in decent times, but people seem to be just so far ahead of me. By the time that you get to kind of like the burpees. So yeah, I definitely think the back end of my race is stronger, and that luckily came through in Glasgow. But I think only by I think about 11 seconds. I think, which it shows how tight it is
Mhm.
between qualifying and not.
Yeah. Um, it was a great race though. Like throughout, and like the field is so deep, and you're right, it is so close now that every second does count. Um, a few days, well, I think it was the day later, right, that you then flew to Houston, and then you did the doubles with James Kelly, and set the world record at the time. Uh, how was that race? Like, was that pretty good? And to be fair, JK, I've interviewed JK on here since, and he said you pulled him around a little bit on that day. Like you were particularly strong.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think we definitely did, our fair share. We definitely, went 50-50 on everything. I think where he's probably saying that is we actually went into the race and with our tactics, him do a little bit more because, like I say, he's got the better singles time. He's got, the better pro time and he's a fitter guy. So we went into it and we got to the roller and James was like, "Can you do your 500 instead of doing 400?" And I was like, "Yeah, like of course." But yeah, I think yeah, it was incredible to do it with I think one of the best athletes in the world. I genuinely think he's going to win it this year, in my opinion. So I'm honored to be able to do the doubles with him. Such a great guy as well, very kind of humble and yeah, just such a good experience. Like one of the best experiences. Great race, and we was racing against two other teams as well, and they were super strong. So it wasn't like we was just leading all the way. We actually had to battle and fight up until the rower, I think it was, and
Do you
then
think?
after that we got away.
Do you think doubles suits you better than singles or not? Like, because you won the World Championships last year, essentially with the doubles with Mark Dean. Do you feel like that's a better race for you or not?
Yes, probably a little bit. Just right now, anyway. Just because I think the majority of my training, kind of growing up, and the past couple of years, apart from HYROX, has always been this very much kind of CrossFit style where you have short rest periods,
Hmm.
and you do push the intensity, um, and I think that does pay off. Having being able to rest a little bit within the HYROX. So, yeah.
What's your hopes for Chicago? Well, with the doubles, like, do you think you and JK can take the win there?
Hopefully, I'm hoping. I think it's actually going to be super interesting because we've got the singles on the Thursday night, we've got the
Hmm.
relay on the Friday night, and then we've got the doubles on the Saturday night. So I don't know if that relay, the people doing the relay, because not everyone who's doing the relay is then going to be doing the doubles on the Saturday night. So people are going to be fresher. And myself and James, we've spoke about it, and we're going to be doing the singles. We are going to be doing the relay, and then we're going to be doing the doubles. So out of anyone, we're going to be the most fatigued. But I think I think we're both capable of pulling through. Like Houston, exactly the same as Houston. We were both sore, we were both tired, and we still managed to kind of pull it off.
Yeah, yeah. I have heard of a few people I think are pulling out of the relay because of that reason, like
Wow.
because the doubles, yeah, just to make sure they're completely fresh. So you're right, it is interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And then I know there's obviously some doubles teams there that aren't going to be in the relay or the singles, so they'll be like completely fresh for that race. So yeah, very interesting. Um, you mentioned the relay. You've been announced as the England captain for that. Um, have you thought about your selection process yet? And I mean, this might be coming out after you've selected your team, but like, talk us through like what you're thinking, like for the selection.
So I've been doing a lot of research on it, to be fair, and speaking to a lot of guys. I've been looking at a lot of data from, people, well, potential candidates, and the races from kind of like last year relay. Obviously, England did super well. They won last year, which was incredible, and also kind of like who's going to be doing what stations, and so on. Like, I think from what I've gathered, I think definitely that the males need to do the ergs. So the ski and the row. I think males need to do them, just because I think you're going to get more benefit from that. And alternatively, I think a female needs to finish on the wall balls, just because it is a 2.7 meter target. Giving all tactics away here, but if you think that's 30 centimeters every single wall ball quicker than a male, so we need to take into these considerations, and that's what's going to be taken forward when I'm selecting. But how I've done it, I've given everyone a fair chance, and I put out a workout online that people can go and do. They can video and they can send to me, and then from there we'll have potential candidates, and then we'll choose from there, just so it is fair, and we're going off the data rather than me just picking who my friends are.
And how many people have DM'd you in the
Quite.
last few days?
Yeah, there are quite a lot. Yeah, there are quite a lot, and it's nice that everyone's just getting involved as well. There's probably some people that know that they've not got the best of chances, but they're still getting involved, and they're still doing it as well. And right about my first point, that's getting people into fitness, that's getting people into HYROX, and it's just cool that people are getting involved.
Yeah, I must admit, I sort of looked at it and thought, oh, like I'm not going to be quick enough. But then I thought, well, I still might just give it a go, and see what my time is. It's like disgusting workout; it will hurt, but could be fun. Have you thought about what stations you're going to do for the relay, or is it dependent on who you choose ultimately?
Definitely dependent on who I choose. Yeah, I'm gonna take kind of like the backseat in that. With what other people prefer, and what people are best at, that's what they're gonna choose. It's not like, because if it was up to me, I'd be doing the easy stations, which in my opinion, farmers carry. I think Eddie, but and then I'd be doing something like, and I've got to think as well, like I could be really selfish because I've got I've got the doubles on the Saturday. Like realistically, like me doing a sled push isn't probably going to be the best, or me doing, super heavy walking lunges. I'm not going to be able to walk the next day. So
Yeah,
like, but that needs to be taken out of it, and we just need the best possible team, and the facts on the board, and go with them.
yeah. Do you have a favorite HYROX experience so far?
Oh, well, I think that there's been so many, and I love how HYROX are doing these special events as well. Where there's one coming up this weekend in Berlin. I did Berlin last year. I've also done New York City, where they're outdoors, they're in different sizes and stuff like that. I think New York was one of the best ones last year on the pier. I hope to do that again this year. I think, or I don't know. I'll definitely be there. I don't know if I'm going to be competing, just because it is very close to world champs. But yeah, I think that's probably the best experience, alongside qualifying in Glasgow.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that I do a survey for the Elite 15, and it's used ultimately for a few purposes. Like there's an article that we've got on roxlyfe.com, which is how strong and fast are the Elite 15, and it looks at averages and everything like that. And it's also used within HYROX for like profiles of the elite 15 athletes. But rather than send you that survey, I thought we could do it now. And and obviously, if you don't want to share anything, then you don't have to. Or if you just don't know the answer, then that's fine. Or you can guess. But I just wanted to start with, well, weight you've touched on. You're about 87, 88 kilograms. Is that right?
Yes, at the moment. I might drop 1 or 2 kg before World Champs. But this is my healthy weight. And like we touched on before, like if you do diet down, you've got to see the consequences of that. Like recovery is massively reduced. Quality of sleep's massively reduced, and performance is reduced as well. So like the power to weight ratio has got to outweigh the negatives.
Yeah. Your height, I've got written down 181 centimeters. So you must have told me that at some point.
Yes, that's correct. So just short of 6 foot, unfortunately.
Okay. Approximate 5K time.
Oh, so PB is 16:06 at the moment. I am doing the Manchester 10K this weekend, so we'll see what we can get there. But 16:06 is my 5K.
Okay. And I saw at the weekend you did, was that 10K PB 33:56?
Yes, it is. Now, the course that I do it on, it's not the flattest. It's there's bits where it's a little bit of trail and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be more excited to try and get a better time this weekend. But yeah, around that, yeah.
Okay, nice. Half marathon.
Half marathon, the Great North Run. Again, I don't think the best courses, to be fair, but I think that was a 1:13 for a half marathon PB.
Okay. And then your marathon is like 2:28.
Yep.
Okay. Approximate 3 rep max for a squat.
Here we go. So, recently I feel like over the past year I feel like I've just been getting weaker and weaker, which you probably laugh at. But because I think I've been focusing so much on endurance, focusing on moving correctly rather than pushing the weights. I think 3 rep max is around 130 to 140 kg at the moment.
Okay.
And that is our back squat. Sorry.
Say that again.
Back squat. That.
Yeah. Deadlift.
Deadlift, 3 rep max. I've not tested it recently, but 170, 180 kg. Will be where I'm at the moment. I probably like deadlifting. I probably won't go above 140 at the moment. So 3 plates.
Like military press, like strict press.
Strict press, I think 75 kg.
Okay. And that's bench.
Yeah, that's strict. And then bench press, 3 rep max, I think 110 kg.
Okay. 2K ski time.
Oh, 2K ski. I've not really done one all out, to be fair. I comfortably hold a 3 foot. Sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't really be able to say it. It'd be sub 7 though. So yeah.
What do you hold in a race? Do you know? Like you like?
Yeah, so the race, like 145 to like 148, around that. I've actually slowed it down. That was kind of like my 5K pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I do 5K, I always tend to do that. So my ski in a HYROX race would be around my 5K. So my roll.
Okay. And do you know what your 2K row would be?
Not all out, no. Again, I've not done it. I'll have to get back to you on these. These are nice little workouts to get
in. Approximate training volume per week in hours.
Oh, in hours. 20 plus, definitely. I think around lower 20s. I'd probably say 20 to 25 hours per week.
Okay. And then approximate running volume.
Running volume at the moment, probably around 80 kilometers per week.
Okay. And that's fairly standard, is it? Like the 80K?
Yeah, it'll go a little bit higher, but probably 60 to 100 or probably where I'll be at. Well, weeks where I'm deloading a bit more towards that 60, and then weeks where I'm pushing it, or I've got other goals in mind, then it'll be more towards that 100k.
Okay. And then last one, do you know what shoe you're going to be wearing for the race?
It's the shoe that I've worn for pretty much every HYROX race, which is the Puma Deviate Elite.
Okay. Okay. All right. Nice. Great stuff. We sort of said like 80k running a week, and you've mentioned like thresholds. Like are you doing a lot of threshold running and not really going beyond that at the moment in your training?
Yeah, so I aim when I do my threshold work, I aim for probably 3 runs a week where I'm doing like threshold-ish. So 2 of them will be training sessions, and then 1 of them will either be a training session or like a race, like a 10k race. Obviously, with that race, I'm probably going a bit beyond threshold, but yeah, I think it's good to keep the tools sharp and a race. I love. I do love racing, so it's good to go, even if it's just your typical park run. Like I love to just go and run with other people. So
Yeah.
three sessions a week, and then everything else is easy.
Are they like double threshold days? Are you doing like threshold sessions on the ergs in the afternoons and things like that, or not?
Yes, sometimes. So sometimes it's all based off feel. Like my priority is getting my running threshold in, and then if I'm not feeling the best that day, then I might do something easy in the afternoon. But yeah, I've done a lot of research on it, and double thresholds are great for some people, and then not so great for other people's. There's some great runners that have got incredible times by just doing 1 hard session a week and everything else easy. So
Mm-hmm.
it like doing double threshold. If you worked it out and did that's 6 threshold sessions you do a week. If you was doing 3 double threshold days, like that's probably the upper limit and the top end. But you're still going to benefit from doing 4 threshold sessions a week or 3 threshold sessions a week. So I try and just go off feel sometimes. And I think that's what you've got to do rather than just ignoring how you're feeling and just pushing it anyway.
Yeah. And how about, are you doing any sort of lactate testing? Are you pricking yourself and things like that to dial in the speed or not?
No, I don't. I don't pick myself. I will go and get it done. So I'm lucky enough that I'm with Red Bull, so I can go and get my lactate threshold tested and things like that. But I'll normally just generally go off heart rate, so and go off previous kind of like times as well. So a little bit slower than my 10k. I see threshold as what your maximum output for 60 minutes. So that's how I see threshold. So that's what I'll go off.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Do you have a coach?
yes, I do have a coach. So my coach is John, John Bullock. He's actually a CrossFit coach. Well, he's come from a CrossFit background. He's been in the game for around 14 years. Which, when I was looking for a coach, it was like there's amazing HYROX coaches, but HYROX coaches, one, it's not been around that long, so everyone's very inexperienced, including including myself, including you, including everyone. Like we've only got a couple of years knowledge. I know obviously people have come from other backgrounds, but I just thought CrossFit's one where I think CrossFit's a great sport, and a great sport that HYROXers can learn from, because everyone moves efficiently. Like I feel like people come into HYROX and they're very, very fit, but I don't think people move the best. So I think if we took from CrossFit the kind of how people move and the efficiency, I think we're going to get so much faster times going forward. And I think that's happening. Like a lot of people from CrossFit are coming over to
Yeah.
HYROX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you mentioned working with Red Bull as well, and I think we spoke briefly last time about is it the performance center that they have, and like you can do some testing and things there. Have you picked up anything from there specifically? Anything interesting? Any sort of interesting testing that they're doing that you've picked up that you think's helped?
Yeah, I think it's great going over there, because they literally test everything. So they'll test everything from your bloods, they'll test they'll test like your overall health. They've got like doctors there. Then they'll test all your strength. They'll test your endurance. What I've picked up is that my running form isn't the most efficient. So I kind of work on that by doing specific drills that they then taught me. And I still do them before kind of like most sessions. And then just imbalances. So from left to right, and then certain imbalances, for example, hamstring to quad strength. Like there's a big indicator if your hamstrings aren't, especially if you know, doing a running sport, if your hamstrings are weak compared to your quads, then there's a likely chance that you're going to get injured. So I've had to work on that since, and get stronger with that. So yeah, it's great for kind of diagnosing anything that's wrong. And you know, they couldn't do more for me. So yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of.
Funny enough, I was going to ask you about your running technique, as like you put up these videos on your Instagram and that, and I always think it looks great. I think you have a particularly good looking running technique. Is that presumably that's something that you have worked on over time? Is it? And have there been any like special drills or cues that you think has helped you?
Yeah, so I do quite a lot of research in this, and you know, I've spoken to quite a few coaches, and yeah, I do work on it most of the time. So I try to always kind of midfoot strike instead of you know, land on my toes or land on my heels. I always and I do that by keeping my cadence around that 180 mark. So I'll keep myself accountable to that, and then also a massive one which I actually like used to, like people used to take the mick out of me for it, would be like what you do with your hands. So I used to have one like floppy hand and one that was just like normal, and then I had one that was just like all over the place. So you know, working on what your upper body's doing as well as your lower body makes a massive difference, and
Mhm.
it just keep, you know, trying to stay relaxed and not too rigid as well is important. So yeah, that I actually put my thumb and my index finger together like that, and I try and run like that. So, and that just keeps everything in line, but then it keeps everything relaxed because you're not kind of clenching your fists. So that's one little thing that I try and do now, and that helps when they're running form.
Funny enough, the where I train, like the gym, it's got a mirror sort of near the treadmills. And I noticed like I do something weird with like my left arm compared to my right, and I've been working on that myself. And I had Frederick Zillen on this podcast a long time ago now, but he's like running technique
Yeah.
specialist, and he helped a lot. And like that relaxed feeling with your arms, actually, that does feel like it makes a big difference. It's almost like he sort of like accentuates it a little bit, but it's like getting that relaxed feeling there makes everything else feel more relaxed, I think. And that is, funny enough, something that I've noticed from your videos. It felt like your upper body was very in line with the type of thing that he teaches, I think.
Yeah. So moving on, like what's your goals for? Obviously you're going to be at Chicago. Are you racing?
I'm not racing. No,
Not
I'm not
racing.
racing.
Not
No,
racing.
no.
Have you got any
I've got a
goals?
busy weekend because well, you're racing in all of them, but I'm commentating on all of them, so I'm just like
Oh, incredible.
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So a big work trip for yourself. Have you got any goals kind of after for the off season? Because obviously, like I say, you're bang into your HYROX training. You've got a coach. I know that you obviously you study people. I feel like you're like the Joe Rogan of HYROX. You know, like you know so much because you speak to so many people. You're probably one of the most knowledgeable people within HYROX, I'd probably say. Is there anything that you're kind of working on at the moment?
Personally, because I ran my, even though I've done a lot of high rocks, I've done my first solo pro in London recently. So that, and I've been a bit injured and everything like that. So it wasn't my best time ever, but it at least set a time on the board for me to focus on to beat. Um, and so it's, my goal now is to continue to focus on that more than anything, and I'm kind of excited about it. Like I'd previously done open and doubles before, but pro is a different race. Like the need to work on the stations more than in the open, for example. It does change it. It changes like how I think about my training and everything like that. So that is the goal, and I'm right. My next one is in Cardiff, like in a few weeks' time. And I want to beat that and continue to improve.
And then when
So yeah,
that pro, like what did you find the hardest, and then how did that like change your training, like for you individual?
So I'd always worried about the sleds, like because you know sometimes hear horror stories about I just got to this sled and it just wouldn't move, and that's what I'd always been worried about. But to be fair, that was the sleds were okay. Like obviously they are heavier and it takes a lot out of you, and you do have to be. I had to be like certainly more careful with the rest on the push, like just to not ruin myself for the rest of the race. But for me the wall balls was the hardest part. Like that was like going from that 6 kilogram to 9 kilogram ball is just a different kettle of fish. And
Oh, mate, it's so hard, isn't it?
yeah. And I died to be honest. I don't think I'm that bad at wall balls. Like I think I've done a 350 in the
Oh wow,
open,
incredible, yeah.
if in the open, but it was like 7.5 minutes in
Oh, so
prime in
you
London.
died
Yeah,
kind of like a bit of a death.
yeah, I did to be honest. And you know, maybe it was because I didn't have this time that I was aiming to beat. Then maybe that, like, I just just maybe tapped out mentally a little bit for it. There wasn't this motivator. But yeah, I died a death, and there's lots of things I learned from the race in reality, including racing at like I think it was like 8:30 p.m. start time, and like managing my nutrition beforehand. And like I didn't take any caffeine before the race, and I think I should have done because I was just like tired as by the end of it. Um, and even just the fact of like that's my longest race that I've done. That's the longest period of time that I've raced for a
Yeah,
long time because I've done open, I've done doubles, and like they're whatever sub 70s all the time, and then it's like suddenly more than that. So it's just getting used to that longer race time. So maybe even like intra-race nutrition I should have considered, which I don't normally. So yeah,
yeah. Like, so it's all things to think about, but like think how many things that you can improve on for Cardiff. Like, do you know,
yeah,
um, even to like say you can get minutes off that wall ball time, and then it's
yeah.
have you been practicing your wall balls?
Have I been practicing? Yeah, I've been practicing my wall balls and going heavier as well. And I had been, to be fair, before London, but like, I kind of like doing sessions with like even like a 13 kilogram wall ball
Oh
and
wow, yeah,
doing some things like that, and it just like then picking up the 9 and it feeling light. Uh, so I've been doing that, yeah, and it does change. It changes my mentality as well around. I was really like trying to find a few seconds on the ski in the row, and I know like I talk about enough on here that it doesn't really matter like how fast you go on the ski and the row in the scheme of things. But now doing the pro, for me at my level, like it just doesn't matter. Like I can just go 10 seconds slower, and in the scheme of things, if that can save me 30 seconds on the wall balls later on, for example. So like that, I think at the pro division for me, like ski and row matters even less than it did in the open, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, definitely. And you've got to. I find with the pro, like you've got to be very tactical of where you do break, because there are some things where. Like for example, an open on the sled push, I feel like you can just grind it out and you can just keep on pushing and pushing. Whereas like you've got to be very tactical on where you do break, because if you go too hard, then you're paying for it on the wall balls or the walking lunges at the end. So it's much more of a tactical race in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great point. It was constantly in the back of my mind that the end of the race in the pro is particularly hard. Like those lunges and wall balls at the end, it's like, well, how much should I push beforehand so that I can get through those? And I guess that comes from experience and racing it a few times and knowing like how well you can cope with those lunges and wall balls. But bearing in mind I died at the wall ball so badly, maybe I got it a little bit wrong. But yeah, it is a more tactical race. It felt like for sure. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And then I just wanted to ask a question. Obviously, you interview quite a lot of people. Like, are there any from anyone that you've interviewed? Is there kind of like any 1%ers that you don't think the majority of people are doing? And do you know that I could take away, even myself could take away, and we could kind of use going forward.
Um,
I put you on the spot there. I do apologize.
I don't know. I mean, like there are very different training approaches for sure. It's not like all the top guys are all training the same, and that's why that's why they're so good. And there have been years and years of consistency and training behind them, which is the main thing, really. So there's not like this one secret. The secret is 20 years
Do
of.
you think there's an optimal age for HYROX? Like the best people? Have you, do you know, obviously with all your surveys and stuff, have you come across like an optimal age? Do you think more like triathlon where it's late 30s, or do you think it's younger than that?
So I'll tell you that the average for the Elite 15 men this year is going to be 32, and then for women is 31. So
Very
that's where
impressive.
it's coming out at the moment. It's certainly not. It's not, like the low 20s that the people are at their peak, and we've seen a lot of, Amy Bevilacqua was 51 and she's amazing, and then even on the side of guys, like not so much this year, but people like Geoffrey Voisin and Tiago and that, and Lucas, they're in their early 40s. So it's not a like young person sport, I don't feel. And maybe over time we'll see what happens there. But I think, those early 30s seem to be around the optimal time at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It's so cool how many people are taking it up now as well and getting involved.
Yeah.
Like we just saw like that last chance qualifier. Like, I was looking, and there's some guys that could have you thought were favourites to win it, and they came 50th in in the group, and it's just like there's so many people on the brink of the Elite 15. And it's so interesting. I'm so excited for the next coming years. It's cool. Where do you think it's still going to kind of grow and expand?
I think it is going to. Yeah, I think it is. And it's not slowing, showing signs of slowing down at the moment. I think that they have got a limit in their heads of what they want to do. I think I've heard talk of like 150 events, but those events could be 2, 3, 4 days, which might give them ultimately like 600 days worth of racing. So I think there probably is a limit. They're limited with like convention center space and everything like that. But then also like as a business, I can see them, if they get more gym affiliates and sort of growing out that side of things, then it can be huge for them. But yeah, I think it's grown a huge amount. I think they're forecasting for next season not far off of double this season, I think, in terms of the number of athletes, which is crazy. And so yeah, the standard is going to keep growing as well.
Yeah, no, like I say, it's exciting. It's worrying for someone like myself. But it's good. It's more and more competition. It's great to have that. I think it's healthy. It's really cool.
What do you think about like age? You asked me about age. Do you feel like, well, what are you? 25?
26, yeah. So
Okay.
26. Like I say, on the younger end of that kind of like Elite 15, which I just think for me that's very positive. I just think I've got to think of it as it. I'm in it for the long run. I'm not just
Mm-hmm.
in it to try and win this year, and that's it. If I don't win, then I'm out. Like I've got to think probably 5 years down the line of winning, which hopefully that pays off. And I'm going to stick with it as long as I can, which makes it even more exciting, makes it more of a story, and it's pretty cool. So the aim for this year for myself, I think I'd love Podium. I'd absolutely love to be on a podium on the Thursday night. But like if I don't do that, then I'm in it I'm building. I'm in it for the long run. Which I think it's really cool.
That feels to me like a healthy sort of mindset to have. We sort of touched on this with Ollie Russell when we spoke, but I think they can. If you were like, I've got to do it now, and I've got to take the opportunity where I can. I think you end up probably like trying to race all the HYROXes to get the fastest times and like peak for every event, and maybe increase the intensity in your training and all that kind of thing. And it's can probably very easily lead to burnout and injury and things like that if you're trying to force it. Whereas if you've got like this sensible time period of like, I've got 5 years or whatever, I think that probably means you approach it more sensibly.
Yeah, that 100%. And I think that's what will create kind of longevity within the sport and longevity within that elite 15. Like there'll be people that come and go within the elite 15, and will only be there a year, and then they'll go off and do other things, or not do so well. But for Atlanta, try and be there as long as possible, and try and push that top spot. Everything's kind of geared up towards that, and you know the sacrifices you have to make are tough, but they're worth it in my opinion. It's very, like I said, that them 1%ers are the difference when you get to the top level. So you've got to keep doing them.
Do you feel a pressure like you work with a lot of brands, like you work with Red Bull and several other brands, and does that come with like performance expectations and add to the pressure for you?
Yeah, I think it's a huge amount of pressure. In my opinion, and I don't know if it actually is a huge amount of pressure, but I put it on myself. I don't know if it's actually there or not. Like I could probably speak to all the brands that I work with, and probably ask them, is the pressure, and they probably say no. But at the end of the day, if you're not winning, if you're not on that podium, then why are they supporting you? Like they want winners. So there is pressure there, but you can either crumble from the pressure, or you can help. You can use that, and help you use it as kind of like say the fuel to push you on, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Do you switch off from thinking about it?
Not anymore. No, no. I wouldn't say I've not got a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Put it that way. I wouldn't say. People say, that you need balance in your life. Between relationships, having fun, friends. I think, and kind of performing. I think at that top level, if you want to be the best, I don't think that there is that balance. Yes, you still balance it as best you can, but you're not going to have a healthy balance where you're seeing all your friends every week. You're spending loads and loads of time with your girlfriend, your own family, and you're then performing as well, and you enjoying yourself. Like it's not possible to fit it all in. You've got to pick and choose your battles, and I think because at the end of the day, if I am having fun, there's someone that's training in the gym at that same time. So it's or who's asleep and focused on their recovery whilst I'm out or whatever. So you've got to think like what are the best people in the world doing, and you're not there yet, so you've got to work harder than them. You've got to outwork the best people in the world technically, because you want to overtake them. So yeah, there's not much balance at the top, I don't think. So that's why I'm trying to do that. Yeah.
You asked me a minute ago about like what the 1% and things like that, and to be like, I asked, it was quite a while ago now. I spoke with Dylan and asked him that question, and he said like, you can guarantee if you just stop the elite 15, any of the elite 15 right now, and say what you're thinking about, like you can almost guarantee they're thinking about HYROX. It's like constantly on their mind, like how to go faster, what to focus on, what to do in training, and I suspect that is one of the things. Like everyone has very different personalities. Some are more outgoing than others, and they approach their training differently. But I think they are thinking about it, fairly constantly.
How to how to train the best, how to recover the best. That as simple as that. How to do that, even to the extent of, I'll give you an example. Right now in the UK, it's really sunny outside. It's been sunny for the last 2 weeks, if not longer. Like you can't just spend your off time. You can't spend a couple of hours chilling in the sun and getting burnt, because if you get burnt, then you're not recovering as well as you should, because your body's focusing on recovering from being burnt rather than recovering from training. Like as simple as that, which I love spending time in the sun. I love it. And you've got to think, oh, that's probably not that's not the best. You might be dehydrated for your next session or whatever. Like it's as extreme as that. For some reason, I actually heard that from Matt Fraser when he used to be in competition. He was like, your recovery days are your recovery days. They're not days off. They're not days for going and having fun. They're your recovery days, so you recover on them days. And he said that was his difference between him and all the competitors. And he was one of the fittest guys in the world. So that was for years and years and years. So I think he knows something.
Yeah. staying on the topic of mindset, how about during a race where your mind goes when it gets tough? Where does yours go?
I think there's different stages. So first of all, if I'm just struggling, I think get a grip. Like at the end of the day, like if someone's working a 9 to 5 job and they're not feeling it, they're not just not going to turn in to their job. Like they still got to go to work. It's the same with me. Like um this is my job now, so I need to turn up no matter what. So that's kind of like on the shallow level. After that, if I'm really struggling and I need to find some motivation, I think about all the people that are supporting me within my life. So people coming watching the event. My coach putting out all the hours that he puts in, and things like that. And I think this is my time to put on a show, and that's my time to kind of work hard. And I think that for me, that drives me more than anything because I can't let them people down.
Okay.
What about yourself?
Uh, it varies too. It goes. There's a lot of things. Some of it is I think about like all the work that I've put into the training, and it's just like this is what it's for, and like those sessions that I didn't want to do, like you did it for this reason, so just like push on. I sometimes like think about how I will feel after the race, like if I felt like I've left anything on the table, and like how will I feel on that train journey home, knowing I could have done more, and like sort of so I project forward, and then that motivates me a little bit. And then I'm also like I'm a numbers guy, so I do an awful lot of like maths and stuff in my head, which is almost a distraction, but it helps me with the pacing. And so like every element of the race I will have pre-decided, like I'm going to run this at this pace, and then hopefully come out of the farmers carries and it's like X minutes, and like so I can see if I'm on track or not. And so there's a lot of maths and numbers going on in my head as well, which
Do you wear a watch and time it?
yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
so you're kind of like timing the in and the out of every station?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But no,
interesting.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not necessarily like, oh, I'm on, whatever, 4 minutes to the burpees. It's more, I know that I need to be starting that run after the burpees, after whatever the number is, 30 minutes, whatever it is. So that helps me understand if I'm on track. Now, the downside of that, to be honest, is like if I'm ahead of my time, then like I'm relaxed. I feel good. It makes the race feel much easier. If I'm like very quickly behind where I want to be, that can make it like, and this happened once or twice. It can make it seem like more stressful, more of a struggle. Like just, and all the courses are different, so you can't necessarily always expect that it's going to be like bang on. But that I'm undecided whether it's a good idea or not, because when it's going well, it like makes everything feel easier, and when it's not, it's just like immediate. Like I'm 15 seconds behind. It's like shit. Like now I've
Yeah,
got to dig deep. So yeah, but so
yeah.
there's a lot going on. It differs depending on the race, you know.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Um, what's your plans between now and Chicago? Like you mentioned, maybe New York. Is there no other races? Is Chicago going to be your next one?
Yeah, so I would have loved to do Berlin this week, but I'm just at the moment I'm just in a building phase, and I need to continue with my training. Feeling great within my training, and I need to continue on that. You know what it's like around a competition. Like every race that you do, like you've got to deload before it, you've got to do the travel, then you've got to race. You don't have the best night's sleep after the race, and then then you've got to deload a little bit after the race before you get back into training. So you've probably missed a week of training every race you do. So it's important to me don't race too often. So I'm going to miss the races on the lead up to World Champs, but I am actually going to New York. So I'm trying to get over to Chicago or to the States a little bit earlier, just for the time difference and for my body to adjust. So I'm going over 2 weeks before going to New York anyway. So I might race on that. It'll probably, if it is, it'll probably just be a pro doubles, a little bit of fun, but just to kind of get that top end speed and get the experience. And then I'm going to spend a couple of weeks, so 2 weeks in the US before then the Chicago race. So yeah, I kind of have my deload over there. What about yourself? What do you go over?
Just the day or two before the
Oh wow,
racing.
so
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
yeah. The Wednesday. So yeah, it's just gonna be an intense few
Oh,
days.
yeah,
But no, good fun. I'm looking forward to it. Looking
yeah,
forward to it.
it's gonna be insane. I think, yeah, if it could be anything like Nice last year, I think Nice was spectacular. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be some venue, yeah, on the pier.
And I think the race. I'm excited for the racing as well. Like we had some great racing in Nice last year, but it feels like the field is even closer this year. Like you touched on that, like every second counts in these races now. So I'm hoping for some great races as well.
Who's your money on?
Uh,
On the singles, I know you can't say because you've interviewed everyone, but like
people
you,
people
if
keep asking me that. I mean, like I think the favourites are obvious, really. Like JK has probably done enough this year to show that he's favourite, and then Lauren really is the favourite on the women's side, but there's certainly people like very,
Joanna,
very close behind.
yeah, Joanna's
Yeah,
not far
Joanna's
away.
done great. Megan seems like she's coming back strong. I've got a feeling she's racing in Berlin actually, so it would be
Oh,
interesting to
that's
see
cool.
how she does. Um, I'm I'm personally excited, but like Emily Darman, I think that performance in the last chance qualifier, I think was very, very impressive considering who she beat and the time she did it in and how she dominated the race. So I'm excited to see what she can do and whether she can, like we talk about that top three on the women's side. I think maybe she could break into that possibly. Um, and yeah, there's a ton of guys on that can do it. There's no it's not like, oh, it's obvious that person's going to be in like the bottom five or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
yeah,
whoever on the deck, and like I say, with the amount of travel, the amount of the full build up, like it's very hard not to like overdo your training and overdo things. Like we saw it with Hunter last year. Like Hunter just did too much. Like he didn't do too little. He didn't, he did everything right. He just did too much of it, and then on race day, struggled. So it's one of them like it's going to be super interesting. It's going to be who has it on race day as well. And for the lads, obviously, that like you said, there's JK, there's Alex. I think Alex, he put down a great time the other day, or the other week. Sorry. And then like you say, you've still got Hunter in the mix.
yeah,
He's been training hard. Yeah, it's I'm Bo. I think Bo, Paleo, like these guys, like it's just they're incredible. They're super consistent. Um, yeah, it's so good to see.
yeah. Someone asked me this question the other day, and I mentioned like there's the obvious favourites, but like I think Bo just flies under the radar a little bit, and if he can like continue like the
Oh
trajectory
yeah,
he's on, but like because what he does on the stations is crazy, and then if his running can continue to improve, I think yeah he could be very high up definitely. And the racing in Nice, like it was like Alex, Sandy, and Hunter, and like they had to go out fast from the start. I think to race against Hunter and sort of not let him open out that gap, but I think it feels like there's a lot of guys like Bo, like Graham, for example, that can do amazing wall balls now and come through, and Paleo like races it very, very cleverly. So it's not necessarily going to come from who goes out fast at the start. I think there could be some guys pace it very, very effectively and come through towards the end. So yeah, exciting times.
yeah, no, yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, thank you.
Um, all right. Well, thank you for this. If anyone wants to follow you, find out more about you, where should we send them?
It's just Jake Dearden underscore on Instagram, and then Jake Dearden on YouTube. I'm trying to document as much as this as possible. That's where kind of all my efforts are now trying to go. Just so I can, anything that I learn, I then project on YouTube. So yeah, that's the place to go at the moment.
Okay,
You
awesome.
mate.
All right, nice one, mate. Thank you for this. I'll see you in Chicago.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.